It is my great pleasure and privilege to introduce Mr. Bernard O'Hara, a legendary figure in the story of this college. Bernard has been part of our story since day one, the 1st of September 1972, when the college actually opened, up until he retired in August 2010. During those years, Bernard served as head of department, as head of the School of Business and Humanities for 19 years, before going on to become registrar for another 11 years. Today he is going to present an outline history of RTC Galway, later Galway-Mayo Institute of Technology, in the context of the evolution of public policy. You're very welcome, Bernard.
Thank you very much, John. There is an old saying that goes like this: may those who drink the water never forget the debt they owe to those who dug the well. I would like to remember all the staff and students who passed through the doors of RTC Galway, GMIT, from September 1972 until April 2022, when it became a technological university. The opening of the regional technical colleges from 1969 initiated one of the most exciting developments in Irish education during the 20th century. They brought a strong vocational orientation, increased participation, and an important regional dimension to higher education in Ireland. In the 1960s, Ireland had a small, elite system of higher education, catering almost exclusively for the professions and some employment outlets in the public sector. By 1965-66, there were only just over 20,000 students in higher education in Ireland, and now it is close to 250,000. After a depressing decade of no growth, massive immigration, and a declining population in the 1950s, Ireland changed its industrial policy from protectionism to free trade, with a big emphasis on the attraction of foreign direct investment and the promotion of indigenous enterprises. It was the start of the modern industrialisation of Ireland. When the process of industrialisation started, it became apparent that there was a great scarcity of technical, technological, scientific and managerial expertise in the country. Various articles and reports at the time drew attention to this scarcity. In October 1960, the then Minister for Education, Dr. Patrick Henry, established a commission on higher education, and 2 years later he initiated a survey of the Irish educational system in cooperation with the Organisation for Economic Cooperation and Development. By 1965-1966, the OECD report commissioned by Dr. Henry was published in 2 volumes entitled Investment in Education, which generated a big debate about education and about the human resource needs of a developing economy. At that time, there was very little technical or technological education in Ireland, with the exception of Dublin, Cork and Limerick. The Commission on Higher Education report of 976 pages was published in 1967 and recommended an expansion and diversification of the system. But it went on to say that the system should not be overwhelmed by an obligation to satisfy the human resource needs of the economy. This report was to have very little impact on subsequent developments. Even before the report was published, Dr. Patrick Henry made a very important public announcement on the 20th of May 1963, when he announced the establishment of regional technical colleges. It was envisaged at the start that they would provide a technical schools leaving certificate, apprentice training, some higher level technician courses, but there was considerable ambiguity about their role. Following discussions between the Technical Instruction Branch of the Department of Education and the VECs, it was decided to establish 8 colleges based in Athlone, Carlow, Cork, Dundalk, Galway, Limerick, Sligo and Waterford. While the proposal was supported by George Colley, who was Minister for Education for 1 year, little progress was made. It was his successor, the dynamic Donnacha O'Malley, who brought the project to fruition. He is, of course, remembered with affection as the minister who also introduced free post-primary education in Ireland and the free transport scheme. On the suggestion of the then Assistant Secretary of the Department of Education, Sean O'Connor, the minister appointed a steering committee on technical education in September 1966, chaired by Noel Mulcahy, then a senior specialist with the Irish Management Institute in Dublin. They were asked to consider the need for a 9th college in Letterkenny, as well as drawing up the brief for the building consortium to erect the colleges. The minister also appointed a consortium of engineers, architects and quantity surveyors to design, plan and erect all the RTCs around the country. One organisation to deal with the whole lot. The Steering Committee on Education, chaired by Noel Mulcahy, was published in April 1967, a model of clarity, 48 pages, and it was to be highly influential. It supported the establishment of the 8 regional technical colleges and suggested that a local one should be provided in Letterkenny. The committee outlined the role of the regional technical colleges as follows. We believe that the long-term function of the colleges will be to educate for trade and industry over a broad spectrum of occupations, ranging from craft to professional, notably in engineering and science, but also in commercial, linguistic and other specialities. The report went on to state, we do not foresee any final fixed pattern to the course of the colleges. We are concerned that the progress of these colleges should not be deterred by any artificial limitation either to the scope or level of their educational achievements. The committee recommended that the Regional Technical College in Galway should cater for hotel and catering management in addition to the other courses, and the college was to make provision for 500 or 600 extra students. The committee also recommended that art and design should be an integral part of the courses in as many colleges as possible. It also recommended the establishment of a National Council for Educational Awards, which would be responsible for setting standards of admission, approving courses and syllabuses, awarding certificates and diplomas to successful students. The building of the regional technical colleges commenced in 1968. Donnacha O'Malley, a person who excelled in performance and had the ability to cut decisively through inertia, red tape and bureaucracy, died suddenly on the 10th of March 1968 at the age of 47 and was succeeded by Pádraig Faulkner, who had the privilege of opening the first regional technical colleges. Some students were enrolled in colleges in September 1969 in Carlow, Dundalk and Waterford, chiefly Leaving Cert students and apprentices. This was to annoy the local secondary schools, and it took a few years before the RTCs phased out any involvement in the Leaving Cert. 5 colleges commenced operation in September 1970 at Athlone, Carlow, Dundalk, Sligo and Waterford, followed by Letterkenny in 1971, Galway in 1972, Cork in 1974 and Tralee in 1977. 2 officials from the Department of Education deserve enormous credit for their support to the colleges in the early years, and they were Sean O'Connor and Dr. Finbar O'Callaghan. Management structure of the colleges. It was envisaged by the steering committee that the regional and technical colleges would operate under regional education councils, with college councils and small boards of management. This proposal was resisted by the vocational education committees, who lobbied to have the colleges administered under the Vocational Education Act of 1930. Following Brian Lenihan's appointment as Minister for Education in March 1968, he announced that the regional technical colleges would be administered under Section 38 of the Vocational Education Act of 1930. Each college was to be managed by a board of management operating as a subcommittee of the parent VEC, that is in the jurisdiction of the VEC where the college was located. Initially, there were 7 members of the board of management, but this was later increased to 12 to cater for regional interests. The National Council for Educational Awards was established on an ad hoc basis in April 1972 and on a statutory basis in July 1980. It was given a wide remit, and I quote, "Their purpose was to encourage, facilitate, promote, coordinate and develop technical, industrial, scientific, technological and commercial education and education in art and design provided outside the universities, whether professional, vocational or technical, and to encourage and to promote liberal education." The council, the NCA, appointed council boards of studies in business, engineering, science, and these helped to get the colleges organised with course recognition and so on. Initially, there were problems in relation to the recognition of courses because a number of colleges were in existence before the NCA was established. So the NCA initially approved all courses on a temporary basis for up to certificate level and to give colleges a chance to do a detailed submission and evaluation. RTC Galway. Galway, with a population of 27,726 in 1971, was one of the locations selected for a regional technical college, as it was also named as a growth centre for economic development. The pioneering work was done by the City of Galway Vocational Education Committee, chiefly its affable CEO from 1963 to 1979, Seamus MacDonald. 4 possible sites were selected, and eventually a site on the Dublin Road, owned by Galway Corporation, was chosen. A contract for the purchase of this site was signed in September 1967 for £27,000. The college was designed by the Building Design Associates that were doing this work on a national basis. And all the RTCs were designed to the same plan and structure. The cost of the Galway College was £960, with a separate allocation for equipment and furniture. The first RTC Galway employees. 45 candidates applied for the post of principal in November 1971. 16 were selected for interview, and Gabriel Gay Carr, a first-class honours graduate from UCG and a member of the Royal Society of Chemistry, who had worked as a senior research officer with An Fearas Taluntas before his appointment as head of science in Athlone in 1977, was appointed as principal. Gay Carr took up his new role on the 1st of April 1972 in a room in the county buildings on Prospect Hill. He did Trojan work to have staff and students in the college by September. Gay Carr turned out to be a wonderful and respected leader locally and nationally, who inculcated a strong sense of public service with a culture for high ethical standards and a deep sense of public responsibility in all staff. He was really the founding father of RTC Galway, GMIT. During the summer, 4 senior staff members were appointed as well. Michael Corrigan, a Trinity College graduate who had worked in a polytechnic in London and became the first head of business studies in Athlone, was appointed head of business studies. Brendan O'Friel, a Tipperary man and a civil engineer with Galway County Council, was chosen as head of engineering. Gerald Hughes, a graduate of Carl Brewer Street College of Catering, who had undertaken postgraduate studies in the United States, before his appointment to RTC Carlow, became head of Hotel and Catering Studies. And Dr. Brian Place, an urbane Englishman and a science graduate from Birmingham University, with experience in pharmaceutical research, was appointed as head of science. Michael Corrigan died suddenly on the 4th of November 1976, and I, his right-hand man at the time, was fortunate to have been chosen as his successor. We both had run several seminars together, both in the college and outside the college. Our first seminar outside the college was in September of that year, when we were in the Great Southern Hotel in Galway and gave lectures on value-added tax, which was to come into effect on the 1st of November 1972, 2 years before we joined the European Common Market as it was at the time. Gerald Hughes was headhunted by private industry in August 1977, and he was succeeded by Liam Hanratty, a person with wide hotel and catering experience in several European countries. Brendan O'Feill resigned in January 1979 and went back to Galway County Council, and he was succeeded by Tony Quinlan. So these were the executive board, really, these were the people who established the executive board that guided the college through its early years, up to June 1980, when new members were added. Administrative, technical, caretaking, cleaning staff were all appointed during the summer or September 1972. Philomena Lynon became the second employee of the college when she started as a clerical officer on the 2nd of May 1972 and became the longest serving employee in the history of the college, retiring in 2017 after 45 years service. A library service was established by Mary Kavanagh. Further, Noel Mullen started the chaplaincy service. Bernadette Smith, Tom Lally and later Pauline Staunton started the counselling and career service. Marisha Kearns established the canteen service, but it was Mary Lacey who undertook this role for over 30 years, who is chiefly remembered today. Mary O'Donnell organised the cleaning services, and Jackie Joyce was in charge of the caretaking function. Official opening. The first students entered the Regional Technical College Galway on the 18th of September 1972, and a new era in the educational history of the city and region began. During that year, the college had 1,213 registered students, 319 full-time third level, 76 full-time craft, 42 on day and block release courses, 212 apprentices, and 564 on adult and continuing education programs. From the start, the college had a big commitment to adult and continuing education. The college was officially opened on April the 12th, 1973, by the then Minister for Education, Richard Burke TD. The new staff of the college were busy in the early years designing curricula. So they designed the curricula, submitted it to the NCA, who in turn appointed a panel to come and evaluate the submission and make recommendations for its improvement or sanctions, as the case may be. Retention became a big issue from the early years, especially in engineering and computing. And mathematics was the subject that seemed to cause most difficulty. The first graduation ceremony took place in November 1974. On the 8th of March 1973, RTC Galway submitted a proposal for an ab initio 4-year degree programme in Hotel and Catering Management, the first submission from an RTC. The college also started a course called Chastas Náisiúnta Staide go Nó, the first programme in an RTC to be run exclusively through Irish. It took some time to get all courses recognised and approved, but they were inside 2 or 3 years. From the start, the college offered many day seminars. I certainly remember in business studies we did day seminars on all the new capital taxes in the middle 1970s, capital gains tax, capital acquisitions tax, wealth tax and so on. And the hotel and catering department became renowned for dinners. They regularly organised a French night, a German night, and all these things received great publicity. Complementary studies. In 1973, the NCA issued a guidance document to colleges to include studies complementary to the specialised areas in which a student is primarily engaged. Later, this became a mandatory requirement, and RTC Galway was very quick to respond. Within a short time, we had courses in archaeology, literature, languages, sociology, local history, history of technology, EU studies, and so on. As well as that, the college introduced what was called an option hour. There was an hour left free every Wednesday from 12 to 1, and various courses were offered by interested staff. They were usually 8 to 10 weeks, and they were very well attended. There was no assessment or anything. It was just to broaden people's education. And these courses were well attended by staff as well as students. RTC Galway offered the most novel and comprehensive complementary studies programme in the country, but these were phased out in the 1980s when there was severe cutbacks in the college budget. So the college from the early years of operation had all different clubs and societies, all the usual ones. I just mentioned three that were special. In 1973, a business studies student by the name of Michael Lally established a speakers club, and this was to give a platform to people to engage in public debate about contemporary issues. The current President of Ireland, Michael D. Higgins, and a former TD from Galway, Bobby Malloy, were regular speakers at the speakers club. And as well as this, in November 1974, Michael had this big ambition to invite all the political parties in Ireland to a conference, and including all the parties in Northern Ireland, to see could the troubles in Northern Ireland be sorted out. So he was well in advance of his time. The conference received considerable national publicity, especially through Michael Finlan in the Irish Times. The Archaeological, Historical and Folklore Society was established in 1977 by Edward Fox, and it was very successful. But unfortunately, Eddie suffered a severe stroke in 1980 and had to take early retirement. The college organised an annual programme of outings and lectures. As well as that, it organised a fantastic conference in 1984 to coincide with Galway celebrating its quincentennial. Every organisation in Galway were asked to do something special for that year, and this was GMIT or RTC Galway's contribution to that year. Over 1,000 people attended the conference over a 3-day period. It started on Friday evening into the Sunday, but each session was self-contained, so people could go to each session as they wanted. And as I said, about 1,000 people passed through the college that weekend, the largest number ever to attend a conference here. It organised another very successful conference on the industrial development of Galway City. It published 3 books: Galway go Canburnia, An Introduction to Burnology by Edward Fox, Michael Leonard and Peadar O'Dowd. It published Mayo Aspects of its Heritage, edited by myself, and another book called Old and New Galway, written by Peadar O'Dowd. The next big landmark in the history of the college was the big debate about a binary or a comprehensive system. On the 16th of December 1964, Richard Burke, the Minister for Education in the then Fine Gael Labour government, caused consternation when he made a major public announcement in relation to higher education, including a decision to establish a comprehensive system of higher education rather than a binary one. The decision had not been preceded by a white paper or any discussion. The announcement meant the removal of the degree awarding powers from the NCA. The City of Dublin VEC had to take back some submissions they had made and brought them to Trinity College, who recognised them. And it was decided at that time that the colleges of education were to receive their degrees from the universities. So a number of colleges were left in a limbo with this decision: Limerick and the National College for Physical Education. In respect of Galway, the first degree submission from an RTC, as I said, came from Galway in the Hotel and Catering Management Programme, and this course had been evaluated but not approved prior to that December decision. A period of great uncertainty followed, and in March of 1975, the college was informed that the NCA would be allowed to approve the award as a temporary arrangement, provided all the conditions of approval were satisfied. In July 1975, this arrangement was approved by the Council of the NCA. The students followed the approved course and had their examination papers assessed in accordance with the criteria laid down. About September of that year, it was rumoured that the students were to receive advanced diplomas. When the NCA was reconstituted in February 1976, its power to award degrees was taken away from it. So it applied, they could only award certificates and diplomas only. About September of that year, it was rumoured that the Galway students were to receive advanced diplomas rather than degrees. And it's also, the rumour stated that a rubric was to be inserted stating that the award was of degree standard. There were protests from the students, parents, staff and the board of management, but the decision was not altered. A conferring ceremony took place in the college on Monday, the 15th of November 1976, amid protests from students and great tension. Students from the Hotel and Catering course were left until last. The first student went to the podium, was presented with his parchment. When he read it, he saw it was called an advanced diploma, and he promptly handed it back and said he was refusing to take it. The other three students did the same. This was followed by 3 or 4 speeches, one from the chair of the NCA, Dr. Tom Walsh, who criticised the students for their behaviour. But Gay Carr, the principal of the college, in a firm and courageous address said, and I quote, "Under normal circumstances, I would on an occasion such as this spend some time outlining for you the progress of our institution over the last 12 months and our hopes and aspirations for the year ahead. This, however, ladies and gentlemen, is not a normal occasion. It is the first time at a graduation ceremony I have seen students conferred with a qualification other than that for which they were assessed in their final examinations. It is the first occasion in which I have seen the award being conferred be described as equal to, equivalent to, or the same as an award in another designation. Finally and sadly, it is my first experience of seeing naked injustice being done to students who successfully completed their examinations, simply because they were lucky enough to fall outside the structure of some predetermined administrative framework over which they had no control." End of quote. It was Gay Carr's finest hour of his distinguished career, and he received considerable local and national publicity. The Students' Union played a big role in this publicity. At the end of the year in November, Richard Burke was delighted to be appointed as Ireland's European Commissioner, and there was no happier man to leave Irish politics at that time. A few days after becoming Minister for Education on the 2nd of December 1976, Cork man Peter Barry, to his eternal credit, informed the NCA that they could award degrees to the 1976 class in accordance with the decision taken in July 1975. A special conferring ceremony was arranged in May 1977, and the Galway students were duly conferred. In June 1977, a Fianna Fáil government came to office, and the Minister for Education was John Wilson, who announced that the degree awarding powers of the NCA were to be restored. In the meantime, RTC Galway had submitted this course to University College Galway, seeking recognition, and in fairness to UCG, they pulled out all the stops and recognised the course. Then the college had a decision to make whether they're going to stay with UCG or to go back to the NCA. And there was a long meeting of the Board of Management, and eventually they decided that the national spirit was to go back to the NCA, and that's what they did. Later public statements like charting our education future and so on refer to the danger of academic drift, which all the RTCs interpreted at the time was keeping to some degree work only. European Social Fund. World Bank investment was very important for the physical development of the regional technical colleges, but the European Social Fund became an important source of funds for students. Following some national thinking in the Department of Education, the department was able to get EEC social funds for people pursuing a number of technician courses. This was gradually expanded, and on the initiative of Jim Hussey, when she became Minister for Education from December 82 to 86, all students on 1 year or 2 year courses received social funds money. National diploma courses became eligible from 89-80, but they were subject to a means test. For the colleges, it meant that there were higher class contact, daily class rolls, and various ESF records, and some staff weren't particularly happy with all the administrative work involved. Student admission. In the early years, all applicants for third level courses in the RTCs were interviewed. They had to have a minimum qualification to apply. In the case of an Apple issue a degree, it was leaving cert in 6 subjects, including maths and English, with 2 of them at a higher level. By the end of the 1980s, each of the 9 RTCs had their own separate application procedure, and in some cases, separate point system. Limerick had another system, and the 5 colleges of Dublin Institute of Technology had 3 different procedures. There were also different dates for different regulations for application fees, offers, acceptances, and so on. 2 people deserve enormous credit for pushing a rationalisation of the system. The first was Christina Murphy, the education correspondent of the Irish Times, and Mary O'Rourke when she became Minister for Education. Big steps forwards was taken in 1991 with a common admission system through the CEO office in Galway. A new procedure was adopted whereby a single application form and 1 fee covered all the universities and institutes of technology and RTCs at the time. Further changes were made the following year, and by 1992, a new leaving cert grading system was introduced. A common point system was introduced, and the number of CAS lists was reduced to 2, and it covered all degree and certificate and diploma courses. The 5 teacher training colleges came into the system, and the 2 colleges of domestic science as well. It was the last year that the old matriculation certificate, the matriculation examination was used by the universities. In the case of RTC Galway, female participation was very high in business studies, art and design, hotel and catering from the start, and increased gradually in science. It was very low in engineering. It was only 8% of total enrolment in 1992. Extension. A 5,835 square metre extension to the original building was provided in April 1977. A sports hall was also erected. Papal visit. On Sunday the 30th of September 1979, Pope John Paul II was on a 3-day pastoral visit to Ireland, visited Galway to say a special mass for the young people of Ireland at Ballybrit Racecourse, before going to Knockshrine, the goal of his Irish visit. RTC Galway made a big contribution to the occasion. Over 170 students from the Hotel and Catering Department provided catering in both Galway and Knock. The college provided desks, office equipment and chairs for Ballybrit as well, all of which were delivered back to the college before the 9 o'clock lecture the following Monday morning. And any cost involved was borne by the organisers. Chair of the HEA. In 1986, the college had 2 one-year certificate courses, 16 two-year national certificate programmes, 12 national diplomas, 2 degrees, 2 professional courses, apprentice education, and over 112 evening programmes. Now, the full-time courses were generally organised as a 2-year national certificate with a 1-year add-on to a national diploma, and it could be a 1-year add-on to a degree as well, or ab initio 4-year degree, or an ab initio 3-year diploma. In January 1990, the Minister for Education, Mary O'Rourke, appointed Gay Kerr as acting chairman of the Higher Education Authority, a big honour for himself and the college. He was succeeded as acting principal by Tony Quinlan, who had succeeded Brendan O'Feill as head of engineering, and Tony in turn was replaced in engineering by Frank McCurry. Gay served in that capacity until September 1991, and he continued in a part-time capacity until January 1993, when the retiring Secretary of the Department of Education, Noel Lindsay, became chairman of the HEA. Regional and international linkages. A research and development unit was established at the college in 1984 with Andrew Darcy as head, the first for an RTC, and it quickly established links with the business community in the region. The first Erasmus exchange students took place in business studies in 1987-88, and the person who deserves a lot of credit for setting up the initial Erasmus exchanges was a lecturer in German by the name of Helen O'Connell. From the mid-1980s onwards, RTC Galway expanded its presence across the region. It developed a partnership with the Agricultural College in Mountbellew from 1986 to provide agribusiness courses. And I'd like to acknowledge the pioneer work done there of Brother Tony Dolan, Brother Michael Burke, and Tom Burke. A link was established with Connemara West and Letterfrank in 1987 to deliver courses in furniture design, and Jim O'Connor from the School of Engineering did excellent pioneering work there. The campus developed into a national centre for furniture design and technology. As a result of a local campaign led by Paddy McGuinness, a campus of RTC Galway was established in Castlebar in 1994 under the leadership of Dr. Richard Thorne. It was in the old St. Mary's Hospital building, which was sensitively restored to provide facilities for students and staff. Another campus of the college was established in Clonmara in Galway City in 1994. The site was published from the Redemptorist Monastery when it closed in 1990. Following the design design for a new structure by Jablockham and Marr, a big refurbishment took place in the building, and the first students moved in there in September 1996. This was the Art and Design Department, which at that time came under the leadership of Marion Coy, who was the first woman to be appointed head of department of the college in 1993, when she was appointed head of humanities. In 1993, the RTC Galway celebrated 21 years, its first 21 years. The year included a visit from the then President of Ireland, Mary Robinson, and a book was published on the first 21 years entitled Regional Technical College Galway, the first 21 years, written by myself. RTC legislation. Relations between the principals of certain regional colleges and the chief executive officers of their parent VECs started to deteriorate. A letter from the Department of Education at the time to a college had to go to the local CEO first, who then sent it on to the principal. As well as that, the principals felt that some CEOs had an enormous influence on the main subcommittees of the NCA. Shortly after the NCA was established on a statutory basis, its director decided that he would meet with the CEOs, with the assistant registrars meeting the principals. Hitherto, the assistant registrars had met the heads of schools 3 times a year, and the director met the principals, and this was a satisfactory arrangement. So this major change sowed considerable resentment and the seeds for further developments. The principals started to campaign for separate legislation for the RTCs. The National Board of Science and Technology recommended that they should separate from the VECs as well. In 1980, the Association of Vocational Education Colleges, these were the VECs that had an RTC under its aegis, established a committee to look at the idea of research and development. And this committee was chaired by Gay Carr, Principal of Galway. And the committee recommended that research and development should be an integral part of the work of the colleges. Gay Carr was also chairman of the Association of Principals from 1987 to 1990 and had a big role in giving feedback on the draft of the Regional Technical Colleges Bill in 1992. Various other organisations recommended that the colleges should have separate legislation. The Partners in Education Report 1985 and the Hardeman Report of 1987, which recommended the establishment of universities in Leahy Limerick and Leahy Dublin. Mary O'Rourke was the minister when all this pressure was brought to bear on the department, and eventually they drafted 2 bills, one to give separate legislation to Dublin Institute of Technology and a separate bill for the rest of the other regional colleges. There was considerable cross-party criticism of the bills as it made their way through the Dáil, and it is said that over 100 amendments were tabled. The VEC fought a very strong campaign to keep the RTCs within their remit. 3 ministers for education were involved in the passage of these bills through Parliament: Mary O'Rourke, Noel Davern, and finally Seamus Brennan from February 92 to January 93. The Act was passed and became law on the 1st of January 1993, and each RTC became an independent, autonomous, third-level college. The Act, Section 5 of the Act, defined the role of the college as follows: to provide vocational and technical education and training for the economic, technological, scientific, commercial, industrial, social and commercial development of the state, with particular reference to the region served by the college. Very broad remit. It also gave power to the colleges to engage in research and development. Now, each college had to submit annual policies that had been sanctioned by the VEC and by the department. And, of course, the annual budget had to be sanctioned by the department as well. So you had full autonomy. It was autonomy within these restrictions. Each college was to appoint an academic council to advise on academic matters of the college. A study was carried out by the Institute of Public Administration about the administrative structure of the colleges at that time, and it recommended the appointment of a Secretary Financial Controller and a Registrar. And these people were appointed at that time. Jim Fillon became the first Secretary Financial Controller, and Tony Quinlan became the first Registrar until 1999, when he was succeeded by myself. All the VECs had to transfer all their records and all over to the colleges at that stage. And I would like to acknowledge the work of Pat Ryan, the CEO of Galway City VEC and Secretary of the Board of Management of the college, from December 1980 to December 1992, who always carried out his duties with efficiency, courtesy and great probity. Galway had absolutely no problem in getting these records and dealing with them. Some of the other colleges were not as lucky. Degrees. From the start, there was considerable opposition to the RTCs offering degree programmes, and this was a major issue in the binary and comprehensive debate. But scarcity of expertise in different areas led to colleges offering add-on degrees. A lot of reports at the time were warning of the danger of mission drift and so on. But in response to perceived market need, RTC Galway, RTC Cork enrolled students in 4 degree programmes without receiving the approval of the NCA or the Department of Education. And after a lot of controversy and pressure, they were approved. Colleges, as I said, started to provide add-on degrees to their existing certificate and diploma courses. The Secretary of the Department of Education, Noel Lindsay at the time, laid down criteria for the RTCs running degree courses, and they were called the Lindsay criteria, and each college had to do a separate submission for a degree, seeking recognition and addressing each of the criteria listed in the Lindsay criteria. While it might have been reasonably easy to get an add-on degree, ab initio degrees were very carefully scrutinised. Around this time, Limerick College of Art, Commerce and Technology, as it was called at the time, started a degree course with recognition from London University. And some of the private colleges in Dublin started to look outside the state for recognition. All of this helped to break down the antagonism that existed towards the RTCs doing degree courses. Apprenticeships. RTC Galway had apprentice courses from year 1. It was a subcontractor in the training process, either block release or day release, first from ANCO, then from FOSS to 2013, and from its successor, SOLAS, after that. The RTC Galway catered for electrical, motor and construction crafts. The apprentice courses were very successful up to the 2007-2008. We had the economic crash, and it's only now that the apprentices numbers are coming back to what they were like before 2007-2008. Institutes of Technology. A steering committee on the future of education in 1995 recommended that the RTCs should be redesignated as regional institutes of technology, provided they met certain criteria. During this time, Waterford kept pushing to be recognised as a university. In fairness to Waterford, they were under considerable pressure from their local Chamber of Commerce. In January 1997, the Minister for Education, Niamh Brennan, announced that Waterford was to become an Institute of Technology. While the unity of the RTC sector was never strong, this decision was greeted with horror by the banks of the Lee and claims by other RTCs for similar recognition. The Minister appointed a group to advise her on the criteria that should be used in the evaluation, and this committee was chaired by Dr. Derval Donnelly from UCD. It recommended the upgrading of all the RTCs, provided they met the criteria specified. Cork was upgraded shortly after that, and then all the other RTCs were upgraded on the 28th of January 1998. So each college had to put forward a name, and Galway put forward the name Galway-Mayo Institute of Technology, GMIT. I think it was a good name. The executive board were considering it for some time. I didn't like the idea of Galway Institute of Technology in case people start using GIT and things like that. So I think GMIT was a very appropriate name there. The Act also gave the directors at this time, their title was changed to President. Delegated authority to make awards. The Minister appointed a committee chaired by Derval Donnelly to draw up criteria by which colleges' courses would be evaluated to see where they're in a position to give their own awards. In the meantime, a new national framework of qualifications was established under the Qualifications, Education and Training Act of 1999. So in the higher education, we had five different levels: 6 higher certificate, 7 an ordinary degree, 8 an honours degree, 9 a master's degree, and level 10 a doctoral degree. All the courses in the college had to be revised, and their learning outcomes had to be changed to meet the criteria specified for each level there. So national certificates became higher certificates, diplomas became ordinary degrees, and so on. Following various international reviews, by 2004, GMIT had delegated authority under Section 29 of the Qualifications, Education and Training Act of 1999 to confer their own awards at level 6, 7, 8 and 9 in respect of all taught programmes, and in respect of level 10 in 2 disciplines, aquatic science and mechanical engineering. The college was named as Irish Sunday Times Institute of Technology of the Year in 2004 and 2006, a recognition of how quickly the college responded to change in the learning outcomes for all programmes. New facilities: a new landmark building with a learning resource centre of 10,250 square metres, designed by Murray and O'Leary on a major entry route into Galway, was erected. It incorporates 3 striking green copper sails to reflect the maritime association of the city. That was completed in 2002 and opened in 2003. 2 business innovation centres were opened, one in Galway in 2005 and another in Castlebar the following year. These were erected with support from Enterprise Ireland. Their purpose is to provide a range of start-up spaces and various supports to promote enterprise development. The college purchased Murrah House, a Georgian building, and 10 hectares of land in 2004, but the need for a development plan and safe access delayed any development there. And in February 2022, the college purchased Crowley Park near the Dublin Road campus, consisting of 3.94 hectares. The Institutes of Technology Act of 2006 was enacted in the 1st of February 2007, under which the college came under the HEA. Up to that, it was reporting directly to the Department of Education. By 2021-22, the college had 8,042 students, 5,953 undergraduate, 268 postgraduate, 1,110 part-time, including apprentices, and 711 by remote learning. Staff numbers increased, with a big increase in female participation, and the college was able to get the Athena Swan Bronze Award in recognition of its work in promoting gender equality for staff and students in March 2021. The Hunt Report. In February 2006, Waterford Institute of Technology wrote to the Department of Education seeking designation as a university under Section 9 of the Universities Act of 1997. After some prevarication, a UK consultant, Jim Port, was appointed to carry out an analysis of the application. Before the report was published, Cork had applied for similar recognition, and the minister knew that he had to act quickly. After further delays, on the 6th of February 2009, the then Minister for Education, Pat O'Keefe, appointed a committee to look at a new national strategy for higher education. The National Strategy Group, of which Marion Coy, who succeeded Gay Carr as director or as president of GMIT, was a member of that committee. The committee was chaired by Dr. Colin Hunt, and it published its report in 2011. and it set out a vision for the future development of Irish higher education, with proposals for rationalisation, collaboration, mergers, regional clusters and so on. It rejected a proposal for a single National Technological University of Ireland. In February 2012, it published a document. The Department of the HEA published a document called "Towards a Future Higher Education Landscape," in which they look for mergers, amalgamations, and so on across the sectors. And each college was asked to do a submission showing where it would like to be structured in that new landscape. But it's emphasised there had to be mergers and so on. A further document was published in January 2013, completing the landscape process for Irish higher education, very much summarising the responses they got from all the colleges. Another report was done to the Minister for Education in May 2013, setting out the criteria by which a college could become a technological university. In March 2018, the Technological Universities Act became law, providing a legal framework for technological universities. In the meantime, the Connacht-Ulster Alliance was established between GMIT, Letterkenny Institute of Technology, and the Institute of Technology Sligo to respond to the changing environment. They made a detailed submission and eventually, after an international evaluation, they were approved, and the request for it to be designated a technological university was approved by the Minister at the time, Simon Harris TD, Minister for Further and Higher Education, Research, Innovation and Science. GMIT was formally dissolved on the 31st of March 2022 and its functions transferred to the new university. On the 1st of April 2022, the Atlantic Technological University was formally established. Before I finish, I'll just mention the people who served as presidents and chairpeople of the governing bodies. Gay Carr, who had directed the affairs of the college for 30 years with intelligence, energy, humane management and integrity, retired at the end of September 2002. In recognition of his outstanding contribution to RTC Galway and higher education in Ireland, he was conferred with an honorary doctorate by the NCA on the 30th of November 1992. He received an honorary fellowship from GMIT in March 2022. And typical of the man, he only accepted the recognition in praise of all the people he worked with over the years. He was succeeded in October 2002 by Marion Coy, an arts graduate from UCG, who was then head of the School of Humanities. She led the college for 8 years with the same high standards as her predecessor before retiring at the end of November 2010. Jim Fennell, was the Secretary Financial Controller, was acting president until April 2011, when Michael Carmody, the president of Tralee Institute of Technology, took over as president until his retirement in April 2015. Jim Fennell was again acting president until from October 2015 until the appointment of Dr. Fergal Barry, the former head of development in Limerick, was appointed as president. Following his resignation in May 2019, Dr. Michael Hannon served as acting president until the appointment of Dr. Orla Flynn as president in March 2020, and she served as president until the end of GMIT's reign on the 31st of March 2022. So she was the last president of GMIT and the first president of the Atlantic Technological University. The first chairperson of the Board of Management of RTC Galway was a man called Michael O'Sullivan, a member of the Galway VEC. He was succeeded in July 1979 by Micheál Hickey. Managing Director of T.O. Hickey Show in Galway and Chair of the Galway VEC, and he served in that capacity until December 1992. He was then appointed as Chairperson of the governing body in January 1993 and served in that capacity until February 2005. He was awarded an honorary fellowship by GMIT in March 2022 in recognition of his long and distinguished service. He was involved in chairing the college for a total of 26 years, and I must say that he carried out his duties with great integrity. And I think Galway was fortunate to have him because other colleges were not as lucky. Rory O'Connor, the CEO of Hewlett-Packard, became the next chairperson. Donogh, the member of the governing body, served for a short time before the appointment of Des Mahan, the former Mayo County manager, as chairperson from October 2011 to October 2016. Joe Cunningham, a member of the governing body, was acting chairperson then until the appointment of Cormac McDonagh, the operations director of Thermo King in Galway, from March 2017 to March 2022. Maura McNally, senior counsel, a native of County Leitrim and then chair of the Bar Council, was appointed as chairperson of the new university from the 1st of April 2022. Surpassed all expectations. The opening of the regional technical colleges initiated a period of great change in Irish higher education. After developing awards at different levels with pathways to progression, the RTCs increased third level education, especially in those parts of the country removed from the main centres of population. They made a huge contribution to the economic development by providing suitable graduates over a broad spectrum of occupations, ranging from craft to professional level, as specified in the Mulcahy report, and for expanding the labour force, as well as facilitating participation, fostering social cohesion, and becoming drivers of regional development. In many cases, the students who came to the regional colleges were the first in their families to go into third level education. The colleges developed the ladder system of progression, which facilitated the integration of further higher education and swift response to changing needs. The colleges were quick to provide new programs to satisfy new needs for learners and employers, working closely with regional and community organisations. They became agents of knowledge transfer, empowering graduates to contribute to the economic, social and cultural development of the regions. They endeavoured to foster enterprise development, promote partnerships with industry, as well as participation in national and European research-funded programmes. They tried to advance knowledge and research by their teaching and research. They made a huge contribution to transforming the small elite system of higher education, first into a mass system and now into a universal system, with over 50% of the relevant cohort going on to third level education. There are new challenges and opportunities on the horizon. While the drive for collaboration, rationalisation, mergers and value for money will provide new challenges, providing students with the educational opportunities to realise their potential, having regard to changing needs, remains the main objective of any third level college. In his poem, From the Canton of Expectation, Seamus Heaney described the transformative power of wide educational opportunity to take a community from the high-banked clouds of resignation to new horizons, whose boat will lift when the cloud burst happens. RTC Galway and GMIT aided that cloudburst for many individuals and communities in the past, and hopefully that will continue in the future through the Atlantic Technological University. Thank you very much.
That was wonderful, Bernard. You've given us a very comprehensive outline of the history of the college and its evolution. Over your many years, your 38 years, you have played such a vast role in the college's story. Could we hear your personal highlight, Bernard O'Hara's personal highlight from 38 years of service?
I think there were many highlights. One of the highlights, really, I almost took great pride when I heard of students succeeding. And I know many students who just who just got in, worked hard, got on well, and got on well in later life. And I regularly meet them. I was in the National Gallery of Ireland last week, and this person came behind me and tapped me on the shoulder, and he was one such person. And he was a student here he was on the Stagic and Law course, he was from Guidoring Donegal, and he told me how he got on in life. So meeting people like that and seeing how well they got on was certainly one of the highlights. I enjoyed my time here. I was very happy here. I think it was a great place to work. The morale and everything was wonderful. And overall, I think all the staff of the college can feel proud of the contributions they've made to the city and region.
Bernard O'Hara, thank you very much.
Thank you.